Hi, welcome to a run through of my UK comic annuals. In this one, Marvel and DC ones, as well as a few other ones, like MarvelMan. Not Marvel or DC, but there it is. You've got strip cartoons, stories, games, puzzles and riddles, and of course some stories as well. A lot of tech stories, lots of these. Also you've got Daniel Boone. Now I'm not saying why they didn't put Daniel Boone, but they put just a very strange way of doing it. And also you've got MarvelMan, Victor Volson's volcanic venture, no less. I love the fact that you've got here Kimota. He says, cool, just suddenly bashed my eye. Crash! And then of course you've got Marvelman, suddenly wish it off. Rumble, lots and lots of big balloon words there saying brrr as he flies off. Most odd. The history hoaxer. So you've got there another Marvelman story. And also you've got Marvelman's home gymnasium. Really useful as well. So you can learn how to become as powerful as Marvelman. Probably unlikely, but still very useful ones. I'm certain a twister drill, strength forearm and all those sort of things. I expect people have done that for many years. The bender, try and bend broomsticks with thumbs and then fingers. Would that work? Anyway, MarvelMan, the case of the missing space ace. So you've got a great little story there. Boom, as it goes there. Zong. It really looked massive. Ah, that's great. The expanding island and many others. But again, going all the way through this, couldn't find any information about the date for that annual. Very strange. Now another very tatty one, but one of my favourite ones. I love this one. Fantastic. Annual 1968. I think this was the first annual that I ever got that was related to Marvel Comics. Now, fantastic comic. I think came out in 1967, so this is 1968. This is the annual 68. And for some weird reason, you've got this character that I have no idea who he is. You've got the character there, but of course you've got Doctor Strange. Quite often they change the colours as well, so you've got slight variations. Always very odd. Also, some slight bit of drawing. I don't know who did the drawing. Now that one obviously comes from Jack Kirby, but that one I'm not so certain about. Just weirdly done. But there, Thor, when Magneto strikes. And that was a weird story because that one did not get reprinted when they were going through all the Marvel comics in the 1970s. So you got that one when Magneto strikes. They just left that off for some weird reason because I suspect because it had the X-Men in it and maybe some other characters here that of course hadn't been obviously displayed at that point. So therefore they just didn't put them in. I don't know why they did that. I mean, as if, you know, this is going to come sometime. You could put a comment, but no, they just didn't put the story. Very strange. But it's a classic anyway. You've got Magneto. Very unusual one actually with that. With obviously against Thor. Magneto didn't face many of the others. Didn't like Iron Man. That would be an interesting one. Iron Man. Or maybe the Fantastic Four. Obviously he did later. But back in those early days, it was always, of course, the X-Men. Then he was whipped off to wherever. Though he did have a Magneto story, of course, the Avengers, around about issue 49, 47. So a bit later. But it's still good, really good stories. And of course you've got Tom Blake there all the way through. Really, really nice. Now, not all of this is in colour. Some of it, again, is done in the usual style. Temple of Zentaka. So you got that story as well. But it was just great. The Man Who Hated Monstro. And of course, they included some of these ones. I'm not certain if that came from Strange Tales or Tales of Suspense. Maybe. I don't know. No idea. However, the next one. X-Men, Beware the Blob. And that story has always been a favourite. It's a really weird one where they find Blob in a circus. And of course, he's got there, the Blob. And I don't know about this character. Maybe this other character in the back. Probably, maybe he was a mutant as well. They just didn't find him. Obviously, he was just standing in the background. But still, slams the door on him. And wham, as he goes through that. And of course, he comes back. And he does appear quite a few times after that. I don't know if he's still going, the Blob. I'm certain he is. However, we got this one. This is one of my favourite stories. I love this brilliant Ditko one. And unfortunately, it doesn't actually put Ditko's name on it. I Used to Be Human. I don't know where it would have been, but they've sort of removed that. 1967, originally 1963. So that obviously was one of the comics, Marvel Comics group, it says there. And it's a lovely little story. I really love that. Reread it many times. It was great to get it recently in the Suspense Omnibus editions. So it's really nice to see it in that good quality version. Got that. And another story then. And then you've got this one. Iron Man versus Doctor Strange. Yes, another slightly odd story. Doctor Strange. I think when they came to reprint that, they called him something different because they didn't want to confuse anyone. So Doctor Strange at this point. And you've got here, of course, he's He's just, I think it was a fairly recent story, so fairly early story. So you've got, of course, got him in his gold one there. And it's really decent yarn. It ends really silly, but anyway, that's, I think, just how it requires. No, I'm not even spoil the story, but it's just a silly ending. That's about the only thing that's slightly ruined. I enjoyed it actually before that. I always felt Doctor Strange, he should come back. Definitely needs to make a, you know. However, Superman annual with Batman and Superboy. Here's all the contents. Unfortunately, there's no page numbers, nor there's any date, particularly anything. I can't find anything here. So it could be 1960s. I assume it is 1960s. Clark Kent's great Superman hunt. There's a lot of stories, probably Action Comics or maybe Superman comic, but also there's some obviously from World's Finest, your two favourite heroes in one adventure together. There's also lots of these stories as well. Superman's Christmas quiz, and also drawing ones where you sort of quickly draw from an oval and all the way through to Superman, which is always very good. Very good. Here's another Superman story. Now, this is quite good actually because this is in colour. Quite a lot of the UK ones really didn't have this sort of quality. And many of them were just black and white or green and white or blue and white. But this one, I think, is a pretty decent one. Pow. Annual 1968. At least they put the date for this one. And it's also got the spine, which is really good. Power Annual 1968. Also features Spider-Man and Nick Fury. Also features lots of other stories as well. They included like the group, as well as, let's go to the Spider-Man story. Oh, we've got Willie Haggis, the spy from Sky. Wow, I never realised that it was actually a character from Sky. That is something impressive. Spider-Man, Freak, Public Menace. I think this was Spider-Man 1. So you got here, obviously gives you all the details. I love the fact that it shows here you got there first characters. Aunt May looking so different from how obviously we saw her later. Definitely changed a bit. You got Aunt May there again. And of course you got Spider. You've got 2 or 3 pages of recap of his origin, obviously from Amazing Fantasy. And you got there going away. So that's the Spidey story, the early Spidey story, when Jameson, of course, takes a dislike to Spidey at that point. And cautious, he's dangerous. Caution, I should say, he's dangerous. Report him to the nearest police station. Spider-Man, reward for his capture. They never actually say how much. They would give 20,000, 500,000. And how would you capture him? Really? Still, Dolls of St. Dominic's. So you've got that. Where's the Nick Fury story? Nick Fury. Oh, this was actually the first story. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., the man for the job. And this was obviously a very nice colour one there. And you've got the story. Of course, you've got Tony Stark there demonstrating the various powers he's got. The blast gun can smash that globe, but a human weapon is needed. I don't think we ever saw the blast gun ever again. I think that was often the way with these stories. They'd introduce these gadgets. You never saw them again. And of course, you've got Hydra there. Hail Hydra, immortal Hydra, etc. We shall never be destroyed until 3 or 4 weeks' time. But they came back. They always came back, which is good. There wouldn't be a story. The Island of of Beasts as well. Ooh, there's another Spider-Man story as well. Actually, that was a story in the next part of the first issue. Spider-Man versus the Chameleon. And you got extra bonus. You got the Fantastic Four. Poor old Thing. Why was he not coloured at that point? They didn't bother with it. Sometimes these things, they often change the colours. And also in the comics themselves, they were often doing very weird things with the panel structure. It was just all over the place. For some weird reason, and I am quite certain in the original, and I'm not going to look at the omnibus, he was not. Why didn't they bother putting colour on him? Poor old the Thing there. Yeah, he's white all the way through that. And also, there's a few bits where very strange, but still. You got that. They didn't do another story for Nick Fury, but that was it. Dare a Day, Davy, and other ones. Very thin, but still a very enjoyable little annual. Now, quite a lot of the issues, these annuals later, didn't feature any of this Spider-Man or Nick Fury, but these ones did. This one's Superboy annual. Again, giving no particular details about anything. This is from Oxfam. I don't know how much it was. $2.99. $2.99 with Bobo the Detective. I think this was 1967. Yes, 1967. And you've got all the various stories there. Invasion of Krypton, etc. Bobo Detective. Weirdly, they split them up. Contents. And then they put Bobo down the bottom. So you had to go and look where that was. Superboy, The Secret of Fort Smallville. Again, they did it good old duotone. So, which is fine. But then they had some in colour. I don't know why they did that. I've never understood. There's no particular rhyme. You had some of these other ones, like Homer. I think that was a DC character. Quite certain that they had those. They would just have one page stories. That was it. I quite enjoyed them actually. They were always quite a decent little sort of joke. But I'm not certain who the artist was. They never put any particular details about them. I suppose it's on the GCD. You got Superboy there, obviously in black and white. Now, I think the artwork there is quite crude. It's not particularly the world's greatest reproduction of this. I'm not certain actually the company that did this one, probably one like L. Miller. But it's still, you got this one, another one, Superboy. Again, if you really look at it quite closely, it's not the world's greatest reproduction. But still, good little stories. And that's Superboy. I picked that one up in London. And that was in another Oxfam store. It's just, and they had a pile of them. I picked up about 3 or 4 of these annuals of sort of DC. Obviously, someone got rid of a load of DC ones from the 60s. And that was really nice. I thought, yes, because here's another one. Superboy annual. And again, this is 1963-64. And this one includes Rex the Wonder Dog, again a character from the 50s. So you've got Atlas Publishing and Distribution, not Atlas from obviously the Marvel one. And you've got Superboy here. Here's the contents again. And you've got Rex and also a host of cartoon favourites as well, no less. Superboy. Okay, a weird colour scheme, why they've gone for that. Still, decent little story. Actually, some really quite nice artwork here. You've got, that one's a really lovely one. Rex the Wonder Dog. Secret of the Lost River. Really impressive. And then on to the next one. Casey the Cop. Help. And also Superboy again. Here, Crypto, the talking dog. Folks, I think that's really quite. See Superboy's performing amazing feats of strength. That is a really unusual looking Superboy. Crypto's getting obviously all the attention there. And again, you've got another story of Rex. Another story of Rex in here. Rex is all the way through this. Obviously, Rex was popular back then. Obviously, 1963, dog stories and whatever, but cat stories obviously were in at that point. And you've got another one here, another Rex the Wonder Dog. Cool, a lot of Rex the Wonder Dog. Character I don't think they ever got any showcases or anything. They've never been reprinted, which is surprising considering obviously the popularity of Rex the Wonder Dog in here. So, oops, there's that one. Fantastic. This was the last of the fantastic ones, annual 1917, a great one. Obviously the X-Men in there, well, obviously new at the time, costumes. The X-Men and your other fantastic favourites inside. And this time, Mark of the Monster, a really terrible, was not one of my favourite. And also the colouring again is all over the place. I mean, really, they got it right on the cover. And then inside they went for a very strange. And also, look at the Angel there. Angel's gone for a very strange. At least they got the Iceman right. Let's have a look for Marvel Girl. She became blonde in this, and also they've done something very weird with his. It's very strange. You got here, the monster lives. You got Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster. Again, not the world's my favourite X-Men story. It was one of those non-stories as far as I'm concerned. This one though, however, is really good. Someone decided to pencil that in. The Fantastic Origin of Doctor Doom. Of course, a classic origin story from Fantastic Four, annual number 2. Really great story and a legendary story, that one. I always think they should redo that, maybe do a real full-length, massive origin, a bit more detail. I'm certain there's a lot more to tell. Of course, they probably have. Maybe I just haven't read. Maybe there's whole books of the origins of Doom. But still, of course, you've got that famous scene where he's impatient, so he can't, really? But still, pain is for lesser men, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got another one of these, probably this one, I assume, Haunted House, is obviously from Tales of Suspense or one of those sort of ones, or Strange Tales, or maybe Amazing Fantasy, I don't know. But still, got that story there, Haunted House. Oh, the Evil of Loki, obviously rearranged that. I don't think that was the way it was drawn. The Thor's hammer looked really odd. And you've got the story there, obviously Loki going along, again, slightly different colouring scheme. Very strange. I don't know why they did that. However, they didn't bother with that in the next one because it also got a bonus pin-up page, and that was always quite nice. And actually, again, they got the colours right there. But suspected of murder, and you've got Hawkeye and the beautiful Black Widow, a very evil-looking Iron Man there. And you also got other stories as well. You've got, that's always that story, The March of the Steel Men. And there's another story. Many of these, of course, have never been reprinted. So I think maybe that's a reason probably from some of this. But anyway, Matt Marvel, Lawman of the Future. I wonder if someone's done that one since. But still, slightly different looking Lawman of the Future than the one that we're more familiar with. Then Smash Annual 1969. Now Smash, they had the Fantastic Four, and I don't know if anything's in this one actually. Just flicking through it very quickly. Just can't think of anything in the stories. You got Smash Annual 1969. Not all these annuals featured things. I've just included them because that was part of the Power Comics. You got Bad Penny. And as I flick through this, I'm quite certain it doesn't, but it does actually have some sort of science fiction one, the Legend Testers. So they obviously tried to put those, but maybe by that time, Lieutenant Lightning and the Thog Menace. Menace. Very strange story that one looks as well. I don't think that's a Marvel Comics one. That's clearly obviously a British one. The Inferno. Again, lots of these stories probably that was it. Probably had that. That's the one story. And actually, some of them quite unusual artwork. There's a bit of a real big messy splash page, isn't it, where he's coming out of that obviously volcano or whatever, man of fire. I come from the Earth's centre, the Earthlings must make way for the fire. This one's fantastic. 1969. Of course, you've got Iron Man on the go. Lots of different versions of the well, obviously the same version, but still, you got him green, you got him, and there. I don't know why they did that, because they did exactly the same on the back as well. You wouldn't have thought that would really sell it. You'd think that they might put the other characters as well, the X-Men, but still, and the Avengers. And they got some really weird artwork there. Look at that one. Locust Man, obviously, but you've also got Thor versus Hulk. Why didn't they include the actual? It made no sense sometimes. They must have had the artwork. Why did they go for some really, truly odd bit of artwork? Johnny Future. But this one, of course, is the Locust. I enjoyed that story. I don't know why. It was just one. But again, you've got slight variations, obviously, there of the X-Men there. And Locust Man, I don't think he ever turned up again. He was one of those characters that sort of, that was it. Mini-Man, the Incredible Crusader. Another character probably that's never turned up. It's some kind of giant bulldozer that suddenly turned up. That was good. I remember that one. Yes, remember that guy there. Comes a bit like Doctor Strange when thinks this situation calls for Mini-Man. He suddenly becomes, or maybe not. Maybe is he coming? It's hard to work out there. Is he actually coming out of his body, or is that basically he transforms? Just a weird way of doing it, but still. Oh, here's another story. This one is Humans Keep Out. And this obviously Don Heck. But I'm not certain which comic that was from. Tales of Suspense, maybe? Tales to Astonish? No idea. Conquest of Space. But also you've got this one as well. You've got Iron Man. All about Iron Man. And I love these ones. This was quite something that I always enjoy, these 4-page stories or 5-page ones where they would just sort of give you lots of details and show you like all the old villains. Gargantus, Jack Frost, Mr. Dole, Scarecrow, or Mr. Payne. I think it was called Mr. Payne, I think, or something. One of the stories, but there was Mr. Dole. And you've got Iron Man is ready for whatever may befall. And then, of course, got the classic Hulk versus Thor. Now, that came from Journey into Mystery, but this, yes, it was. But the early one, obviously, Avengers 3 as well. Also, you've got this Johnny Future. Of course, they've just done a reprint, big volume of reprints for Johnny Future. I assume this one was included. Can't remember particularly. You got there, I think it was. I Am Disastro, yes, I remember Disastro coming out. That was a real gruesome. Imagine meeting that guy. Now, you wouldn't want to meet him, would you? I Am Disastro. You know what he's up. Where are you going with Disastro? Now, this one's quite a good one. Marvel Comic Album. Quite a few odd ones like this. And I don't think I picked up all of them. This is probably about 1971, that sort of period. But quite a few sort of came out and disappeared. And of course, many of them have been obviously drawn, because it's basically a drawing book suitable for colouring and crayon. So you're lucky if you find one that hasn't had a bit of crayoning in this. And you've got To Rise Again. Now, they're not particularly stories and they're out of context, of course. So you've got the story, you've got the Destroyer, but you haven't got the context for the rest of the story, which is very odd. Oh, Grey Gargoyle, The Deadly Victory. But the thing I liked about it is the fact it's quite nice, reasonably decent reproduction as well. So it's not just so you've got a real nice sharp look for that one. And of course, at that point, we had obviously the Fantastic Comics. All those ones probably were finished by that point. So this would have been quite a bit of, suddenly, mysteriously, this would have come out and you would have thought, oh, that's it, that's a good one. A Clash of Titans, of course, a classic one with Submariner and the Hulk, alone upon the surface. And that's it. Of course, you've got the story and you've got 3 stories. Weirdly, they put, obviously got, Captain America on the front cover. That's strange because Captain America doesn't even feature in the story. They put Captain America on the front cover, featuring Thor, the Hulk, and Iron Man, but not Captain America. Maybe they were going to include Captain America because it's a fairly thin book. Maybe they could have included more, but they didn't. Just going to knock that pile right over. Super Adventure Annual. This one's the Book of Superheroes. And it's another one of these DC ones, and this one's 1967. That's strange, another 1967 one. Also in the same format as well. Obviously the same font there. The Mirror Master. It's got Flash, Tommy Tomorrow, Green Arrow, Jimmy Olsen, and Aquaman. And again, I think there's some connection with Australia because it's got here distributed Atlas, Thorpe and Porter, etc. But it's also got the KG Murray. Again, the quality's not the world's greatest reproduction, but still you've got that story. And then you've got this one, which is the next one is Tommy Tomorrow. Not a story I'm particularly familiar with. The Planeteers Alien Allies. Again, one I don't think's had a showcase at any point. Special offers. Oh, Lone Star Western Annual. So you got that. And also Book of Space Adventures. Jimmy Olsen's Superpower as well. And you also got Aquaman. And you got Flash again. Another Flash story there. The Trickster. And this one, Superman Jimmy Olsen. That's strange. I'm just going to look, where's the Green Arrow one? Oh, 25. Page 25. Let's just quickly go back to that one. Oh, Green Arrow. I guess that story must be one of the 1950s stories. Not familiar with that one particularly. Maybe that one probably has been reproduced in the first showcase, the showcase volume. So that's that one. Now, these are Marvel Annual 1974. They brought out a 1970, well, one that wasn't dated, and then you got the annual 1974. Of course, you got Spidey. Of course, at this point, I suspect, obviously, he had the Spider-Man Weekly, so obviously he probably was the big star. I don't know. I guess that was the big seller then, because obviously they put that, and you got Silver Surfer, you got the Thing, and you got Daredevil. Again, probably inside you find that they do actually. Wings of Death, and this story obviously was well ahead of what we'd be known. And you got the Manic Menace of the Beetle. Bit of a non-character, the Beetle. He turns up all the time. But of course, this has got the brilliant Bill Everett, The Origin of Daredevil. I assume by that point, that would have been out. Because it was issue 20 of Mighty World of Marvel. We'd had the origin. So that story would have been already in print. I still love that one though. Bill Everett is brilliant. Brilliant story of Daredevil. Obviously in his original costume. And also you got this one, which is very odd. When a Tumour Strikes. And a Wonderful Wasp. And someone pointed out today, there was something when the Wasp first appeared. It was a bit, it said, the headline said the, and then the Wasp, something the, and two the's. Very odd when they obviously made a mistake where they put both there. I've never noticed it. All the years I've seen that comic, you look at it and you think, you never spot it, and then someone points it out and you think, oh, yes, Giant Man. Poor old Wasp, of course, doesn't get mentioned there. But it also got all about Giant Man. You've got here, again, another cutaway. Can't be the good old cutaway, showing all the various things, obviously his weights, etc. And then came Electro. Another story, obviously, that was a bit later. I think about 80 or something, that sort of time. The Terrible Threat of the Living Brain. Obviously, a brilliant Ditko one. I love that story. That was a great, one of those stories that was just sort of, you know, nothing really happened. Obviously, you had the living brain there, but it was in the school, it was going all the way through, and it was just all the people just chatting, sort of the relationships, all the various people. And of course, Spidey, obviously Peter Parker, worrying about his identity, and that sort of thing, which was pretty good. And also gave opportunity to have a lovely boxing match with Flash as well. That was just a great little story. And you got the origin of the Hulk as well. Yeah, the origin of the Hulk. So again, a recap of the Hulk, and that would have probably been obviously in the earlier annual, because of course now this was a story. The Hulk, of course, didn't have his own comic book at that point. So Hulk issue 1 all the way through to 6, and then it stopped. And then you, of course, got the Fantastic Four story, and you got there the Thing coming out. Obviously going to the cinema or theatre or whatever it was. Oh yes, it's going Symphony, going to the Symphony Orchestra there with Alicia, and all about Spidey at the back, and you've got the Hulk there. Obviously some Herb Trimpe ones there, I think. And that's it for the Spider-Man Annual 1974. I love this when this came out. This was one of those ones that I just, Fleetway Annual, absolutely the best Christmas present I remember at the time. I just loved it, along with the previous year with the other annual, the red one with the Hulk. This is the original annual. It's most important Marvel annual for me. 1973, my favourite Christmas present. I just love this annual. Absolutely brilliant. And Prisoner of the Toemen. Maybe not the world's greatest story, but wow, what an annual this was. And you've got a classic. I think the reproduction is superb. Really, really nice. And of course you've got the whole, I love the bit, there's scenes where he bursts through various things. He lifts things up. Where's that scene? Oh, there it is. I just love that. Stop him, he's getting away, and you see him lifting up there and he just crunches it down. And not only that, he's quite good that guy still can put his hand through there and not get ripped off. Imagine putting your hand through that. Probably pretty risky, wouldn't it? How the next one, I don't know why they included this, because Conan was not around as far as I'm concerned in any of the comics, so I wouldn't have known who Conan was. And also, of course, the books. I don't think I'd bought the books at that point. Zukla's daughter. But I love this story. Absolutely. And I love it. Your price is too high. Yours for 7 Drakis. Whatever 7 Drakis were. But still, why did this guy argue with Conan? You know that he's probably going to end up meeting a very bad fate. But still, just a classic story. I really love this one. Great artwork by Barry Windsor Smith all the way through. And then on to the next one. You've got Daredevil. Of course, at that point, I don't think I would have known who Daredevil was either. Unless I'd probably read it in Wham, I expect. Wham comic. The Terrible Tinkerer, my favourite. Now, I don't think he's ever returned. Maybe he has. But still, great character. I only really had a brief moment in the sun there. But you got here Spidey's Spider Senses, which I think is quite a nice one. Spidey's Spider Senses. A bit of a mouthful, that one, isn't it? But still, you've got obviously given details about all the various things where he knows that someone's behind him. All very useful. But you've also got this as well. The birth of the Fantastic Four. They didn't bother putting the actual story, the actual comic book. They put this one. Now, I think it actually adds a few details that are probably not in the original. So obviously the person, I don't know who wrote it. So, but still, it's good. It's got various things. Johnny Storm wasn't reasoning. He was only aware what he saw, or rather what he couldn't see. Sis! Etc., etc. I guess in many ways it follows the original comic book. Then his arms shot out, winding themselves around the rock-like figure of Ben. You can see obviously there where he suddenly. I don't think we ever see Reed Richards ever like that again. But I guess at the same time, I suppose he's only just got his powers. Suddenly he's not in full control of his powers. A bit like obviously Johnny Storm, which of course would most of the forest would have gone up in flames. They're going flying off like that straight away from that scene. But still. Kurgo, obviously Planet X. Great story. I think it was Fantastic Four #7. Real good. I suspect at this point that story must have been printed already in the Mighty World of Marvel. And of course you've got this one, The Incredible Hulk, Beauty and the Beast. Most of the stories were probably already printed, but still didn't matter. Of course, it might not have been. I suppose it's very hard to determine actually, unless I looked at the dates on terms of when they came out, because it was about October 72, I think, Mighty World of Marvel. But you've also got the next story, which is really one, The Amazing Spider-Man's Gallery of Famous Foes. I don't know if these really should be included, I think, in the omnibus editions. I think there's some real great little sort of, obviously someone may put a lot of effort to write these out, all the various details about the Lizard and about Craven, Green Goblin, etc., and Doctor Doom. And then you've got the Coming of the Scorpion. Obviously a classic story there, Coming of the Scorpion. Or Spidey battles. They obviously weren't really decided on what the title was at that point. But still, of course, all started because of Jameson. Jameson was, of course, a great character, obviously with the various other characters as well. But this was brilliant. I really love this one, the Marvel one. Though, of course, this isn't my copy. I got rid of my copy a while back, so I had to get it again. But still, I'm not going to get rid of it this time. I got rid of quite a lot of annuals. One of those things that you just sort of go through and you think, oh, I don't really think I'll be reading that again. And then, of course, afterwards you think, oh, I wish I hadn't got. I do that too often. POW, Annual 1971. Now, by this point, I don't think there was any in POW of the Marvel ones. But I've just sort of included, obviously, just to finish off. Magno, Man of Magnetism. Not Magneto, but Magno. And also Aqua Avenger. Some of these stories, obviously, clearly still sort of Mr. Tomorrow, Criminal from the Future. So you got that story as well. Actually looking a bit like Lex Luthor, or of course it was the Tomorrow Man as well. The Hunter and the Hunted. I don't know if they ever continued any of these stories. Maybe they were continued abroad. I don't know. It's like some of these might have been, of course, from foreign comics. Really, you've got no idea. And they could be easily, because it's this one here, just reading it, says about Chicago. So there's no rhyme or reason that this was set in the UK. And you've also got another one here, Electro. And again, another one, Surf City, USA. Obviously a bit obviously near enough the same origin as Electro, but still not exactly the same powers though. I don't say they got the Iceman in there as well, it looks like, but still you got the human travel and all that. The artwork was still good though. I mean, I really think some of these were, and again, I'm quite certain these probably were foreign ones. Really thinking probably Spanish or something artists, because you got the Esper Commandos, or maybe they were featured in other stories. Maybe they continued in sort of Valiant or something. I don't know. But it's just strange when you see these, because they just seem a bit out of place. Norstad of the Deep. Well, that's that POW thing. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if there was a POW annual 1972 73. No idea. Some did. Quite often these annuals would continue on for quite a few years afterwards. Really, all the comics are long gone, but the annuals would just continue coming out. The Fantastic Four comic annual. I love this one. This one was a favourite when this came out. Really great story. Had the wizard story that I just always loved. And also had a very weird one, the Master Plan of Doctor Doom. At least they got all the colours right. Because quite a lot of these books, they quite often didn't get the colours right. Got there. See Sue Storm getting, obviously her powers were obviously slightly getting a bit better by that point. And on to the next story. The Return of Mole Man. You even had obviously a measuring device. Test my invisibility would make the kookiest of hats. It says there. I don't think that's going to catch on that fashion, however. But the next story, well, actually, that's the Mole Man story. That's the one with the radioactivity one, which was very odd. Enter the exquisite elemental crystal. Remember that story? Classic. And it's got good old wizard with his wonder glove. I don't know why he didn't bring these back. He's really powerful. He could do a lot of stuff with that wonder glove. Mysteriously, he never used it again, or did he? I don't know. Maybe there's some stories where he did use it. But this one's quite a good one. Very odd. The Infant Terrible. Probably one of the most oddest ones they ever did. Lots of people probably really didn't like that one, but I quite liked it. The Infant Terrible. It's just peculiar. Sort of, again, one of those sort of, obviously, monster books. Lots of those stories where you had someone obviously coming from an alien planet and then all that sort of stuff. So it's just, destroying the planet. And then turns out, of course, not to be, well, they've given the clue away, of course, in the title, haven't they? Infant Terrible. It's not exactly, they're hiding it. It's there. But the Fabulous Fantastic Four and the mystery of in that. But this is nice. I don't know if they did many of these sort of other ones. I've never seen it. They never brought a Thor one, Thor comic annual, or Spider-Man comic annual, which is odd to think. Maybe there was reasons for licensing. Maybe they, obviously at this point, the authorised edition there, maybe the licensing with Power Comics, they couldn't use the other ones. I don't know. But that's just seems odd. I'm just suddenly thinking about that. Why did they just use Fantastic Four? They could have used Captain Marvel or some other one. Not that probably would have sold very well. Actually, I've got one of those, and I'm just going to go. Captain Marvel is on the cover. Again, they did this quite a lot. Captain Marvel, but is he included in this? He's on the cover. You got Spider-Man, Submariner, Captain America, etc., but not in the book itself, which is a pity, really, because this one, Superman. I love that. Someone obviously decided that the Hulk really was Superman. But you got Submariner, you got Doctor Strange in the drawing there, and also you got the story. And this annual, I think, is one of the most honest ones because it includes Atlas stories of the Submariner and Captain America, which is just great. Got a lovely old story, and I wouldn't have known that at the time. I mean, to me, this Captain America story could have been done from the 1960s for all I know. I mean, I remember reading it when I was about 10 or 11. I wouldn't have known the difference. I mean, it would have made no... But still, Cobra and Mr. Hyde. And someone's obviously done a bit more drawing over this. There's always a bit of drawing in these annuals, which is good. A real favourite of mine, this one, the Cobra story. Though, weirdly, they didn't finish it off. It just ends. So you just got the story. It's a two-parter. They just concluded the first part, which is always very odd. But anyway, you've got the Gladiator from Outer Space. I was suddenly thinking that was drawn as well over, but it looked like it. How Bruce Banner, Rick James, and the Hulk. All three of them. That's pretty tricky, but still, you got there. Obviously, the Green Goblin story, and then you've got the next Green Goblin story. What's the next one? Oh, this is the one I really loved. I absolutely love this one. Submariner, wings on his feet. I mean, a Bill Everett one. I just love that Submariner story. Just a classic. Not very long. They were only about 3 pages. That was it. 3 pages. You got there, Namor, what are you doing? And of course there, I think that was, yes, that was his mother. I was going to say it was Namora, but it's actually his mother there. Hawkeye, the marksman, faces the fantastic threat, obviously, of Hawkeye at that point. Of course, I wouldn't have known that he was going to be part of the Avengers or anything like that. And you got Black Widow as well. Actually, also, you've got another very odd one, Hulk Triumphant. They just included that, of course. That's the origin in the Origin comic, issue 1, Hulk issue 1, but they just included this story completely out of context. But in Hulk Triumphant, which is really nice. Very nice of them to do that. And also, on to the next one, which is Submariner. I love this story. Again, another Bill Everett one. Vengeance! They never included titles quite often. I guess the title was Vengeance, maybe. But it's just weird they had all that text and then they just put Vengeance there. And you got here Betty. So you got Betty. I can't. Just Betty. That was it. Professor Zumba. And he's obviously doing some various dubious things there. And he's obviously got some creatures there. And of course, Submariner is very helpful in there. Obviously, it doesn't end well. And that is that story. And you've got Thor on the back there. And it's very, like I say, one of the weird annuals because, again, it's got Spidey all the way, got the Hulk. But they just included bits of stories, bits and pieces. Most strange. Maybe they were intending to do a second volume, maybe some point, or it was just random collection of stories. But I still love this one. I think there was another one, and I've never seen any more information about it. I've always got some vision that there was another one, but maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But still, maybe someone could put a comment saying, do you know of any more other sort of Marvel annuals around that period? Because as far as I'm aware, this is the only one I've really got. Whopper Space Stories. I have no idea on the date of this. As always with a lot of these ones, you can find absolutely no details at all. The Children's Press, London and Glasgow. That's about it. Whopper Space Stories. But the thing is, most of it includes obviously text, but there is a story, Rex Strong. I have no idea. I've got no information about Rex Strong, Space Ace. I don't know if there are other stories about him, but that was obviously one they included here. Got this one in my local market. Very obviously slightly tatty issue there. This one's very tatty as well. Superman Annual. I think this is 1964-65. Yeah, you can see there, book belongs to. And front page has disappeared, so I have no idea. Maybe that had the date. But still, so you got some Superman stories. Lex Luthor there. Not, again, the world's greatest reproduction. I don't know why. The quality just wasn't very good with these DC ones. Very, very rough. You've also got a Lois Lane story. But they also included these weird one-pagers like Peter Pork Chops, which is a very unusual one. And also Green Arrow. Probably, again, 1950s one, I assume. Looks, that sort of artwork doesn't look 1940s. But you've got here, obviously, Superman there. And let's have a look. Oh, another Green Arrow story. The Man with the Magic Bow. Again, unfortunately, doesn't give any details about this. You've got the little Brontosaurus. They included a lot of these ones. And again, these probably all from the DC comics, so 1950s, 1960s. Always very hard to tell. Oh, there you are. Got Superboy Annual, Batman Annual. Oh, that's strange. Wonder why one was 8 and 6, probably the one I've got, the one Superboy Annual. And also the Batman one was 6 and 6. That's very strange. Unfortunately, I haven't got the Batman Annual. Crime Fighters, Batman and Robin. And then, you, of course, got another Captives of the Amazons. Don't think Wonder Woman appears in this anywhere, but how a Play Fish. I'm not certain what that one. They included these sort of odd little quizzes in that. Pow Annual. This is one with Sergeant Fury and also, in this case, Nick Fury. I don't know why they call him Sergeant Fury, but still, and Spider-Man, the sensational Spider-Man, no less. And also many other characters as well. Day Davey. And let's just go to this story. You've got the Vulture. Spider-Man versus, I've never noticed that before, V the Vulture. I wonder why I called it V the Vulture. Was that versus the Vulture? I'm certain it probably was. Now, I remember looking at this before and I'm thinking the panels are slightly different. I don't know. Maybe they're not, maybe they are. But it's just a very odd one. But still, you've also got Willie Haggis, the Spy from the Sky, and also Lord Ha-Ha's Last Laugh. Now, I don't know why they did that one in colour. They did the same on the other Power Annual. For some weird reason, the Spidey is in just like this. And obviously, Spidey is the big star. Probably not Sergeant Fury, or Nick Fury as they put. But you've got here, yeah, Sergeant Fury. Now, they call him Sergeant Fury in here, but that's strange, isn't it? Air raid, take cover, howlers. And then you've got Nobby's Nightmares. And also you've got another story here. Oh, they include a lot of these ones. Menace Beneath the Waves. Again, probably a one-off story. I'm not certain if it was based on some obviously foreign, maybe Spanish one, because it never actually features much that you can sort of put to a particular place. It could be anywhere. And of course, the text might have been changed as well. So that just could be, oh, it got some colour. Terrible Tinkerer again. That story seems to be a popular one that does the rounds. This time in colour, full colour, The Terrible Tinkerer. And actually the right colours, which is really good as well. You've got their Spidey there. That's a real good. He goes along to the shop and finds out, of course, about the various aliens. Or are they? Who knows? We don't know at this point. I don't know if poor old Terrible Tinkerer ever returned the group and others. Now, I've got another one here. POW 1970. This one, of course, got Spidey on the cover. Obviously become the big star, which is odd because the next story they've got here, first story, you would think would be Spidey, wouldn't you? But no, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. You'd think you'd put it on the cover, Spidey. You turn to the first one, you go, ooh, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. And it's in colour. Panel structure seems very odd. It's a very short story, so suggesting that there was 21 pages or so when it originally came out, reduced to a little less than that. The Nerves. Also, you've got this story, Escape from Into Space, which clearly, obviously, is one of these Marvel sort of tales of suspense. I'm not certain. Strange tales, possibly. Very unusual artwork. I'm not certain about the artist, but still, certain someone will put a comment saying, yeah, oh, that's XYZ. The Cloak and Blubber Man. So here's the Spidey story. When Falls the Meteor? One of the odd ones, I think. I'm not certain why he didn't use Dr. Octopus or Electro, but no, the Looter. And you got Spidey obviously battling. Now, this was quite a late Ditko story. Again, they don't include the details about Steve Ditko. But you got this guy, obviously develops superpowers. And of course, instead of using his powers for good, he's the Looter. Well, the next story, Sammy Shrink. Alt, yeah, as it goes through there. And now the weird one is this one, the last one, the Fantastic Four. Again, the colouring is just so odd. I'm not certain what happens with these. Did they sort of not get the information about the colour? Maybe they got it in black and white and they suddenly decided, oh, let's just colour it in the most honest way. They must have known what the Fantastic Four looked like. You got here the Thing looking slightly odd in silver. You've also got the Human Torch in red. Of course, Reed Richards in red. Maybe it was just the plates or something. The colour plates went wrong or something for that one. Just very strange. Maybe other people have got an annual that it's perfectly correct colours. Also, the panel structure seems very odd. I'm certain that was not the case when they... Let's just probably, if I count the pages, there's probably not 20. They've again manipulated all the panels to put them like that. I don't know why they did that, but they did. And of course, you've still got all the way through that you've got the colours. Very strange. But still, great little story. The Invincible Man. Of course, there's a twist at the end that's very good. This is probably one of my oddest annuals. Marvel Storybook Annual. As a kid, you get this for Christmas Day and you think, wow, it's got all these Marvel stories. You think, this is going to be brilliant. You get it, and it's all text stories. This comes actually from 1967. This is probably, I don't know, maybe earlier than Fantastic and Terrific and all those sort of ones. So this might have been your first exposure to Marvel Comics, the Marvel Storybook Annual. And you've got quite a lot of contents there. And also you've got details, of course, who the artist, story illustrations, stories. The weird thing is, some of them clearly look based, obviously, on the Marvel ones. And there's a lot that are definitely not. You got there, that one is definitely a Marvel panel. That one, I'm not familiar with. But you got there, the story. Now, the stories, I'm certain are fine. They're very good. Howl in the Night. The earth rumbled beneath the seabed. And you've got, obviously, the story there of the submarine. It looks like he's carrying a... No, I was going to say it's a plunger, but it's actually a... He's got a little axe there. He's obviously battling against some shark there. The Chains of Abdul Array. The Fantastic Four crossword. I'm not saying what that. Sue Storm. Oh, wow. Name of the female member of the FF. I think we probably get that one. Hearing organ. The Thing's real name. Ah, they didn't get that one. For some weird reason, they didn't get that one. Obviously, they hadn't read the story. But still, Captain America's Quest. So you get lots of little great things. Men of Ideas. Obviously, Leonardo da Vinci, Michael Faraday. The Origin of Spider-Man. I love these ones. Actually, it doesn't give any more detail. And quite often when you see these stories, you think, oh, let's see if, to top all this, the editor of the powerful Daily Bugle was organising a campaign against Spider-Man, so arousing the population that Spider-Man became a hunted figure and feared by most of the population of Midtown. I don't think he was feared particularly, but still some people did. However, the fire razors, and that's obviously a Spidey story, and has to be said, one of the weirdest villains for Iron Man. I think he's a sort of titanium man, but looking a very odd titanium man. And apparently called, it says Idiot Iron Man, apparently. Tomb of Terror, obviously Captain America. Again, not a panel. You've got the story at the end there. That's obviously the face of the guy at the end. And People into Superheroes tells the story of their creations. Oh, it's got some actually quite a bit of detail. Oh, wow. It's actually got all about, there you got there, Ben and Reed went to university together. It's got all about the OSS, etc. French underground resistance movement. Several years past, Reed began to worry about the conquest of space. He wanted to get into space before the Russians spend a fortune building a space rocket or star rocket. And then Sue Storm, his brother, Johnny Storm, Reed put all his scientific training, etc., etc. Re-enter Ben Grimm. What great stories. Also, you've got back here, Thor, the God of Thunder. Oh, wow. So that's really nice and all that sort of thing. Quite often, these ones you suddenly, to be honest, I've never seen that page. I've flicked through this, but this time, it's the first time I've seen People into Superheroes. Again, another obviously drawing there. Again, I don't think that's influenced by any of them. Certainly the Bull Minos one there. North Sea Wolf there. Paddle Streamer. Obviously, all set in Scotland. There can't be many stories of Thor set in Scotland. And the end of the Hulk. They wouldn't obviously do that in the comic book, but this is the end of the Hulk. Does it actually get to the end of the Hulk? Rick was briefly thanked for his message, etc., etc. You got the Hulk there again. No, that panel is definitely not from any comic book that I know, nor the other ones. And that's that. That is a run through of my Marvel story. I don't know if they did any more of these sort of storybook annuals, ones with text. I think there was a Fantastic Four one. Vaguely remember a Fantastic Four one, but still, it would ever really catch on. Who would buy? You got Marvel characters and you got them all in text. I would have been so disappointed if I got this. I did actually have this one, so I must have probably, at the time, I was probably disappointed. I think, what? These stories, you think? But still. So next time, I'm going to go through some of my other annuals. I've got lots of Beano, Dandy ones, loads of other annuals, girls' comics, boys' comics, loads of different ones, with like film ones. Also, weirdly, I've only got one music one. I've just been going through all my annuals. I've got one music one. I'm really surprised because I love music annuals, and for some weird reason, I've found only one annual. Must have got rid of them over the years, which is very strange because that's what I often do. Anyway, I hope you found this of interest. Any questions about all these books, please let me know. Bye.